Hello, my name is Brian Tracy, and I'm presenting on Colorado water policy and graywater reuse. So why did I choose graywater and Colorado water policy? Essentially, my professional background is in environmental compliance, and I have been in that field since 2005, specifically water compliance since 2007. I'm a certified water treatment level A operator and a distribution level 4 operator, the water manager for Vail, Avon, and Edwards, Colorado. I also play the role of assistant secretary for the Eagle Park Reservoir Company, which is a reservoir south of Camp Hale near the Climax mine. It's jointly owned by Vail Resorts, Colorado Water District, and the organization that I work for, Eagle River Water and Sanitation District. I also volunteer on the local Watershed Council board, which has been a great experience. I'm involved in water planning, environmental compliance, and drinking water treatment. And this project really helped me understand water administration, which is a new part of my job. The project background. Essentially, temperature has been going up over the years. This graph shows a 100-year trend in temperatures overwhelmingly, temperatures and CO2 are increasing. This is having an effect on water supply. This green line is a 10-year average of water supply. This yellow line is a 10-year running average of water use. And you can see right now, there's currently more use than there is supply. And so what does this mean? Well, there's a lot of uncertainty. We pretty much know that if this trend continues, we're going to be in some trouble. So there's a water supply gap that's anticipated. Further exacerbating this is population growth. Currently, there are 5 million people in Colorado, which is expected to double by 2050. So in summary, climate change, less water, and population growth are stressing Colorado's water supplies. The Colorado Water Plan was initiated in 2013 when Governor Hickenlooper directed the Colorado Water Conservation Board to draft a plan. The plan sets objectives, goals, and actions to address future water needs. It was a collaborative approach. Anyone can contribute, and it included town hall meetings, water users, water administrators, municipalities. Essentially, anyone that wanted to be a part of this could be a part of this. And each river basin roundtable recommended actions for their basin. So it wasn't 100% driven by the capital. Each area of the state came up with their own recommendations. The findings of the water plan show that there's a 500,000 acre-foot water gap through 2050. There are a myriad of solutions, but not one silver bullet. Conservation, reuse, and new storage are all identified as methods to close this water gap. Graywater use water and exists within the conservation and reuse part of the plan. What is graywater? Graywater is spent laundry, shower, and dishwater. It can be reused for toilet flushing and irrigation. When you look at indoor use, you see an 80% reduction in indoor water use. There are two types of graywater reuse. The first one is consumptive, which is shown in this picture right here. You can see the washing machine outlet, instead of being connected to the sewer system or septic tank, it's connected to piping, and it irrigates outdoor irrigation, trees, landscaping, gardens, things like that. This water is no longer available to return to the wastewater plant, which would eventually return to the streams. The other type of use is non-consumptive use. So you can see that in this diagram, the shower is not connected directly to sewer. Rather, spent shower water is collected in a tank, a graywater reuse tank, that when the water is needed, it can fill toilet reservoirs and it can be reused for a second time. After the second use, the water is flushed down the toilet and goes back to the sewer. In this type of water use, there is no injury to downstream users. The water is still available. It goes through the treatment plant and into the rivers, and downstream users can use this. So, I mean, it's great. The graywater use is allowed. The Division of Water Resources administrative position in 2011 allows for graywater use for certain types of water rights. The Colorado legislature passed legislation in 2013 that allows certain kind of water rights, or that that allows gray use rather. CDPHE, the Colorado Department of Health and Environment, developed regulations in 2015, and the Colorado Plumbing Board adopted plumbing codes. So that's great. So what's the problem? The problem is that inflexibility in water rights disallows certain graywater uses. The Graywater Bill, otherwise known as House Bill 13-1044, intends to provide all Coloradoans with graywater. However, inflexible decrees, contracts, and well permits disallow graywater, so those conflict with each other. And the impact is that not all Coloradoans benefit from Graywater framework, the legislative framework that's in place that allows it. So my thesis statement for this project was amendments to the Graywater Bill will help meet Colorado's water supply gap by allowing graywater reuse for all types of water rights. Literature review consisted of looking at interstate compacts, which state or stipulate that 2/3 of Colorado water must go downstream to other states. Colorado's water plan was researched that identifies and addresses a 500,000 acre waterfoot gap. Graywater regulations were reviewed. There are a lot of existing regulations that allow for it. Household graywater use was investigated. Essentially, you can use graywater for toilet flushing and irrigation mainly. You can use it also for window washing and car washing and things like that, but the main use is for toilet flushing and irrigation. How the situation evolved: essentially, water allocations are rooted in mining and agricultural history and predate Colorado statehood, going back to 1860. Reviewed public trust doctrines, which incorporate some level of public involvement and public trust and public ownership into water rights. Greenberg argues that this can accommodate changing values. There is a little bit of a conflict in this with the doctrine of prior appropriations and appropriated waters. So the implications of the current system are that inflexibility in water administration exists, and graywater limitations, graywater benefits. The limitations of graywater is it can be expensive. There are water quality uncertainties. So if you're irrigating a garden or lawn space with nutrient-rich waters, it's unclear how that runoff would affect stormwater discharges and impact local waterways. There are also policy challenges associated with graywater. The benefits of graywater are water conservation, up to 80% for indoor uses. It eases wastewater treatment, so the nutrients, if you used it for outdoor irrigation, those nutrients would be used to really provide nutrients for plants and soil and shrubs and things like that. So that takes the burden off wastewater treatment processes and hopefully, in the long run makes those cheaper for wastewater treatment plants. The benefits of changing water policy are that you get increased values alignment with Coloradoans shifting values and increased flexibility in prior appropriations and allocated water. The limitations to changing water policy is that it's politically difficult. So in conclusion, climate change, less water, and population growth have stressed water supplies in Colorado. The Colorado Water Plan addresses a large water supply gap. Graywater, it has been identified as an agent to help close the supply gap. Currently, there are policy limits that preclude the use of graywater. An amended legislation is needed to increase graywater reuse throughout Colorado. The solution recommendation is to amend Colorado's Graywater Bill to establish a 110-gallon limit on graywater storage. Now, this is similar to volumetric limits that helped pass Colorado's rainwater bill and mitigates the impact of collecting too much water, because if you collect too much water, it's not available for downstream users. So if you establish a 110-gallon limit on how much graywater you can store, you prevent injury to downstream users, you allow for widespread graywater use, it aligns with Colorado's water plan, it increases flexibility into water administration. Here are the references that I used for this PowerPoint. Thank you for your time. And here's my contact information if anybody needs to get a hold of me on this project or for any other reason. Thank you.